Well, good morning, board.
Morning.
And welcome to the January 20, oh my gosh, it's 28th already? Oh my goodness, 2021 in Indiana Housing Community Development Authority Board meeting. And our first, and you do say we have a quorum, thank you, David. Our first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from our December 17, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
All right, second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. And motion carried. Our next item on our agenda is Community Services Department, our Emergency Solutions Grant CARES Act additional HUD allocations and rapid rehousing shelter and outreach funding requests. And we have Kristen Garvey to make that presentation. Welcome, Kristen.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Again, my name is Kristen Garvey, and I'm the grants manager for the Community Services Division of IHCDA. I am here to request approval for additional allocations for the COVID-specific Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG-CV. As you may recall, this funding comes through the CARES Act, which we've passed into law in early 2020. In total, we received a little over $31.9 million. The ESG-CV funding is designated to prevent, prepare for, or respond to the COVID-19 pandemic by assisting people who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. There were a total of 23 requests for two types of funding allocations. The first is for our homelessness prevention subrecipients that we identified in May of 2020 to serve as local partners, or as we call them, hubs, for processing rental assistance. The purpose of this funding is to assist individuals who are at risk of homelessness or specifically at risk of losing their homes. These hubs do tasks that are easier to be done at the local level, such as conducting a home habitability inspection, processing final documentation, providing ongoing case management, and processing payment. The allocations for our hubs are to provide continued funding for those efforts so that they can serve individuals we've identified through our intake process and offer the ongoing assistance to those who continue to be affected by the pandemic. We originally had 3 requests for additional funding, and in the preparation of this memo, we received 3 more. The total amount of $750,000 on your memo is the accurate amount, while there were actually 6 requests in this area. Second type of allocations is for organizations who submitted applications for rapid rehousing, emergency shelter, and street outreach. For this type of funding, we currently have a rolling application over the winter months so that organizations can apply whenever they need the funding. Today's requested allocations are for the applications that we received in December of 2020. Rapid rehousing is an intervention designed to help individuals and families that don't need extensive or ongoing support to quickly exit homelessness. So unlike homelessness prevention, this support assists individuals or families who are already homeless and need help finding housing in order to stabilize. We received 4 applications for rapid rehousing with the total amount of $1,025,000. Funding for emergency shelter assists organizations with challenges brought on by the pandemic, such as upgrading technology to assist remote work, increasing the number of staff, paying for personal protective equipment, or repairing or replacing strained or outdated equipment in order to increase their capacity. We received 9 applications for emergency shelter support with the total request of $1,525,436. Funding for street outreach helps organizations get out into the community and reach unsheltered individuals through various methods, such as getting them information about COVID-specific shelters or vaccines, helping them find shelter if they do get the disease, or providing portable hand washing stations to reduce the spread of the coronavirus. We had 3 requests, with a 4th one included in their application for emergency shelter. The requested allocation for street outreach is $177,300. Therefore, the staff recommends awarding the December allocation of the Emergency Solutions Grant CARES Act funds in an aggregate amount not to exceed $3,477,736 for homelessness prevention, rapid rehousing, shelter, and outreach.
Any questions for Kristen?
Madam Chair, I just have a comment. Jake knows, and I think you know too, I've spent a lot of time on the homeless situation in Marion County, just being the chair of the Downtown Recovery Committee, and I'm just happy that this organization is addressing this, because not just in Marion County, all over the state. Obviously, this is a big strain for counties, et cetera, in terms of their allocations and ability to fund other programs. I'm very, very supportive and happy that we can address through these funds.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Kristen, I believe we're ready for the resolution.
Okay. So staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding an allocation of the Emergency Solution Grant CARES Act funds in an aggregate amount not to exceed $3,477,736 for homelessness prevention, rapid rehousing, shelter, and outreach to the organization set forth in Table B as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Kristen.
All right, thank you very much.
It's taken me a while to get used to seeing you in this role.
I know. But it's been enjoyable and I enjoy it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Our next item on our agenda is the COVID-19 response regional mini grant allocations. We have Kylie Welling making that presentation. Good morning, Kylie.
Good morning. Thank you, board. I am here today to present the proposal for the COVID-19 response regional mini grant allocations. These are small awards made to our partners in the Balance of State COC regions to respond to COVID as they see the need arise in their communities. This is the second round of these funding awards we've been able to make early in the pandemic last year. Under the Executive Director's Delegated Authority, we awarded $25,000 to each of the 16 regions that IHCDA supports through the Balance of State. So that would include all counties except Marion. Obviously, as we see the second wave continuing on into the second year of the COVID response, our partners are again in need. We have identified funding from IHCDA's Emergency Housing Disaster Relief Fund. This time we would ask the ability to award each region $50,000. They would receive $25,000 of that money up front. And once they submit a budget report showing that they've expended that $25,000, they would be eligible to receive the second $25,000. And at grant closeout, they would submit a budget report and show what they had spent that money on. Typical expenditures we saw from our first round of awards were PPE and cleaning supplies, paying for additional staff or staff overtime due to a dramatic reduction in the number of volunteers available in their communities to help provide services, and also to create some isolation opportunities for those who could not remain in congregate shelter settings or who did not have a place where they could effectively quarantine at home. This allows them some options to keep rather than sending them to the larger regional options for quarantine that FSSA is running, gives them some dollars if they want to help them isolate in a local hotel or motel or work with them on another solution. In Table A, you will see the 16 agencies that would receive this funding. In their agreement with IHCDA, they are agreeing to be essentially a collaborative applicant for their entire region. So this funding is not to be maintained by this agency. It is available and to be put to use within the region for any participating agency that participates in the COC process through their regional meeting structure, for them to request funds and to prioritize this funding in their region and to make those decisions on where this money will be spent. I think that's all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions or comments for Kylene? I think we're ready for your resolution, Kylene.
Thank you. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve allocations as set forth in Table A, which awards an aggregate amount not to exceed $800,000 in IHCDA Emergency Housing Disaster Relief Funds as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And motion carries. Thank you, Kylene.
Thank you.
Our next item is home ownership development, IHCDA home ownership single family mortgage loan servicing. And we have Kim Harris and Rich Harcourt making that presentation. Good morning.
Madam Chair and Board, good morning. Thank you for entertaining us today. You have in front of you a memo that's requesting approval for us to select and stay with a servicer for our single family mortgage programs. And so the first paragraph details to some extent the importance of our mortgage loan servicers to the loans that we originate and that we either hold for our own book or we sell into the secondary market. But, you know, first of all, the servicer is the face of IHCDA. Although we own some of those loans and some we sell, those loans all come through IHCDA. They have our hands on it. And so for a lot of those homeowners, we are the face, the originator of that loan. And so the servicer's presence and importance to our clients is important. Secondly, servicers have significant duties to the guarantors of the loans, whether they be Ginnie Mae, Freddie, or Fannie, duties to investors, duties to homeowners, taxing authorities, insurers. So the role is significant in how a loan gets treated over the life of its history. And lastly, there's significant economic impacts to the servicer. And I'll touch a little bit on that as we go through the process a little bit further. But speaking of the process, I think a slide down or two in your packet is the process that we embarked on when we chose to evaluate our servicing requirements. And as you all know, the servicing committee was formed in 2017. In February of 19, we engaged a national consultant, Frost & Sullivan, to do a survey on servicers and to give us some input. And in September of 17, we issued the servicing RFP. After that time, responses were received, and in December of 19, the respondents came to Indianapolis, 3 of them, Lakeview, Idaho Housing, and US Bank, and presented their responses to us. And then COVID-19 hit in March of 19. So going through the recommendations, the process, IHC has recommended to the servicing committee that we stay with our existing servicer, US Bank. And there are some reasons for doing that. The first is not in any particular order, but one of them is US Bank's significant financial strength. They're a significant top 10 largest US bank, and their access to capital. They have the ability to obtain capital in the public markets, and they have an incredibly strong balance sheet. Secondly, their commitment to the HFA business. They have serviced HFAs for a long period of time. They currently have 13 HFAs in their portfolio. and they've allowed us to have access to the top of their mortgage servicing business. We met with the president of the business and their CFO and their other officers, ascertaining and reaffirming their commitment to our business. Third, we've done business with U.S. Bank since 1997, and as such, our systems over time have morphed to be very effective in interacting with U.S. Bank's operating systems. We communicate well with them, they communicate well with us, it's efficient. And that speaks to the long and certain history between us and U.S. Bank. And then lastly, I think, and this is important, is the mitigation of uncertainty and financial risk to IHC during turbulent market periods. So what we discovered not discovered, but kind of relearned with COVID-19, right, is that when a mortgage goes into forbearance or default, it's the servicer who has to go through the collection process. They have to continue to front house payments or buy the mortgage. They have to continue to pay taxes. They have to continue to maintain the house. They have a lot of financial obligation. And then if a loss occurs on an individual mortgage, the servicer then bundles up their loss and they make a presentation back to the guarantor. In this case, it's almost, in our bond resolution, it's Ginnie Mae, but it could be Ginnie, Freddie, or Fannie, and they make a claim back for that loss and then they're reimbursed. But they upfront a significant amount of capital and effort in the resolution of a mortgage before they're reimbursed, and that's a significant impact on their balance sheet, their cash flows, and it's why access to capital is important. And so after we looked at all those items, we came to the conclusion that we were really pretty satisfied with U.S. Bank. We made the recommendation to the servicing committee, and with that, I'll turn it over to Mark Pasquarella to speak on behalf of the servicing committee. Mark, I think you're muted.
How many times has that happened since we have been going to Zoom calls? So I apologize on that. Thank you very much, Rich. I just have a couple of different comments. First and foremost, as Rich was going through that, loan servicing is super important to IHCDA, and so hence why there's a committee and a discussion on it. And I cannot emphasize that enough. The great work that IHCDA has with granting money and doing the programs obviously catch the headline news, if you will, but the loan servicing aspect of it is an operational detail that's critically important to allow the housing market or the loan department in IHCDA function. So it's very important. I know sometimes it can be dry, but I cannot emphasize enough how much time should be spent on this issue. The 3 things that I come out of this with, as Rich is presenting it, is number one, when they had the RFP come back, it wasn't just 3 respondents, it was 3 respondents with totally different ideas on how to do servicing. So it was not just one aspect, rinse and repeated, with 3 people just saying the same exact thing. There were all kinds of different concepts and different ways of doing servicing. I think that's a huge benefit because that now allows IHCDA to not only see what U.S. Bank has done, which is what they're traditionally used to, but it provided different avenues possibly what could happen in the future that are different ways of doing servicing. And that comes back to point number 2. I do think it's prudent and right to stick with U.S. Bank at this point, especially with the market volatility that's out there. But what it does allow is that for some reason circumstances change, and I think we all know at some point circumstances usually will change. It's just a matter of when and how. IHCDA has other options that they're aware of in the marketplace and different routes that they can go should something happen with U.S. Bank. And I think that's obviously always very prudent because, again, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket and all of a sudden find out one day the world changed and you have no plan to be able to react to that. And then my last point is I think everything that Rich said about U.S. Bank is true. I mean, they are in great financial standing. They have been one of the strongest banks even through the crisis back in 2008 on through today. So they are well capitalized in the industry. They have tons of experience. They've been working with IHCDA. IHCDA has been happy with their performance. So taking on any additional risk on doing servicing on your own, especially in the volatility of the markets that we exist today, probably is not what IHCDA should be moving to if we are satisfied indeed with the servicer that's been performing, and they have been. So I think, you know, what I can add from the Loan Servicing Advisory Committee is that I think we support U.S. Bank in maintenance of what we have been doing. But again, I think it's always good to look at to make sure we know what our options are in the future. And that can always change as time changes. So I appreciate them looking into it, but I think the U.S. Bank answer is the one to go with. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Rich or Mark?
Rich, as you recall, months ago, we had a lot of discussions, and I expressed, having been a recipient and been through this program 20, 30 years ago, that I thought the incumbent was, you know, the route we should take. So I'm glad the due diligence, as Mark's pointed out, took us in that direction. And I have to say, a few months ago when I touched base with you on that, I didn't think we were going to go that way. So I'm glad we have, and I'd be, if it's in order, Madam Chairman, I'd be proud to make the motion to support the recommendation, or second, if it's coming from a committee.
I believe it's correct. I think we have to do it's going to come from the committee, although the board packet says staff. I think it does come from the committee, if I remember correctly. So I will go ahead, as long as everyone's okay with that, read the resolution, and then that would be the motion to approve. And then it sounds like, you know, Michael will be there to second it. So I'll go ahead.
Yeah. For the record, we see these resolutions so that the public's watching. I'm not jumping the gun. We have those in front of us, but go ahead and read it.
Yeah, we'll read it for the record here. Resolved that the board approves the Home Ownership Department's recommendation to continue use of U.S. Bank as IHCDA servicer for its single-family mortgage loans, as recommended by both the staff and the Loan Servicing Advisory Committee. That is a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Rich and Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now our Executive Director, Jake Sipe, will give us his report. Jake.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of our board. I have a few updates here. One of the bigger updates that I've been able to present probably in my monthly report is the Indiana Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Indiana is receiving approximately $448 million for an emergency rental assistance program from the U.S. Department of Treasury. With that, there were an opportunity for some of our municipalities to apply directly for these funds. And these municipalities had to have a population of greater than 200,000. We are aware that 6 municipalities did apply and are receiving these funds. And the city of Fort Wayne, Elkhart County, Hamilton County, Lake County, Marion County, and the city of Indianapolis, St. Joseph County. And then the balance of the state would be administered and implemented by IHCDA. Of those 6 municipalities, I think it's roughly about 80 million will be split amongst those municipalities. It won't be split evenly. It depends on the amount that they requested and the amount that they were eligible for based on a formula methodology that the U.S. Department of Treasury is using. But that means that the remaining about approximately 368 million will be available for the balance of the state to implement the emergency rental assistance program. I should mention quickly that there is some eligibility requirements for this program, and that there is some limitations on the types of length of assistance that we can provide, but it does offer some unique eligible expenses for us to ensure housing stability. So households may receive up to 12 months of assistance, and they may receive an additional 3 months if they need that to ensure that they have housing stability. Under the federal program guidelines, I mentioned that there are eligible expenses, and those 2 primary eligible expenses are rent and utilities. And for rent, you can do rent 3 months moving forward, or you can also do rental for arrears. And then same for utilities. Utilities could provide for 3 months, or you could go into arrears for those utility and home energy costs. So we're excited about having the opportunity to implement this program. Currently, we are encouraging Hoosiers to subscribe to receive updates at indianahousingnow.org so that they can be the first to find out when we're going to open this program up. And if they're also in one of the other counties that may not be eligible for IHCDA's program, we are working closely with these municipalities to ensure that we have a coordinated effort in communication and referrals for renters and landlords to know where to get information in the county that they live, especially if they're in one of the other counties. So our goal currently is to begin accepting applications sometime in mid to late February. There's some moving pieces that are happening that we need to get in place, and one of those is some guidance from the U.S. Department of Treasury. They have provided us with some guidance. However, we've also been informed that they're planning to issue some new guidance, and that may happen within the next week or so. I should also mention that our policy, we will be going and soliciting public comments. We will the draft of the policy will be shared with the public, and we'll give the public an opportunity to give us feedback on that policy. Hopefully we can do that here within the next week or so, because our goal is to implement this program sometime in February. So other item here real quick I just want to mention was,
Hey, Jay.
I'm sorry.
I asked a question about the presentation you just did, and that is, what would be the pros or cons to a community, a city, or town, going ahead and doing the rental assistance program themselves as opposed to IHCDA? So for instance, I'm kind of surprised. We heard a lot of the larger cities are doing their own programs, but Evansville is not. So I'm just kind of curious why someone would choose to or choose not to.
Yeah, the requirement to apply directly to Treasury to run their own program was the population had to be more than 200,000. The only community that was eligible that did not apply in Indiana was the county of Allen. Now the city of Fort Wayne applied, but the county did not. And so Vanderburgh County, Evansville did not meet the threshold criteria that the U.S. Department of Treasury set for them to apply directly for those funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the question was, why would they not work with us? Why are they doing it on their own? Do you know?
We are we had a call with them last week. They haven't shared with us their reasoning for that. I think a lot of them are looking to deploy these resources at more of a grassroots level with some of their local partners. So I know the city of Indianapolis and Marion County, when they implemented their program along with us back in July, they were very successful in implementing the program and engaging a lot of their community neighborhood partners in that effort. So that might be one reason why they would like to do that.
Hey, Jake, somehow I missed the allocation for Indiana. What was that number?
The total amount that's coming to the state is $448 million, and approximately 80 million of that is going to be just allocated through those six, I guess there's six municipalities.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions on the emergency rental assistance program that's coming to the state? This is certainly going to be probably the largest lift that this agency has taken on. The program does expire in December 30th, 2021. So we're looking at, substantially moving, and helping a lot of Hoosiers in a quick amount of time because of the timeline that we're on. When we open it up in February, that puts us at about 10 months to implement and expend all of these resources. So I should also mention, because of the utility piece, we have engaged the utility service providers that would be eligible. And so a lot of the associations, we've been engaging with them and sharing and making them informed about the program, and then working with them to ensure that we can have the payment process in place so that we can make payments on behalf of renters directly to their utility bills. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes going on in order for us to build that infrastructure, which again, that infrastructure really is not in place right now. We never had a program where we did something quite like this. So we are building it out right now. And that's one of the reasons why it's taken us, we're looking at probably sometime in mid to late February to launch the program. Is really, it's that back office payment processing piece component and working with the utility vendors to make sure that we can implement that when we're ready to go.
Hey, Jake, this is Mark. Any concern about personnel? Because I'm assuming that this is going to be a heavy lift from just the number of people that have to work on it and staffing.
Yeah, there is concerns around personnel. Obviously, it's going to be a big lift. We are going to have engaged some of our program partners to help us with client eligibility review of the files. The other thing that's really a concern for us, because of the heavy lift and the amount of administrative work that's going to require us to do this, is the budget. The administrative budget on this is it's going to be tight. It's really tight. And I think that's something that we just need to know what our limitations are in terms of staffing and capacity and with our partners, but also just the amount of administrative resources in terms of financing is going to take place for this is a really concern for us. We're doing everything that we can to be efficient with these resources and to stay within our budget, but that budget may move a little bit. And so that's a big concern, is just the administrative cost with this, in addition to just the staffing and the capacity of it.
But along with those funds also come with funds for you to be able to run it, right? But I think what you're telling me is that it's tight. It's not liberal by any means.
Yeah, it's going to be really tight, especially when you throw in the technology piece to this, because this is all trying to do this without. We're trying to go paperless, and then you have to add on the security components to this. And like I said, just the amount of work of working with probably somewhere over 2,000 utility service providers. And I think we just saw an estimate, we're probably looking at, in terms of transactions, over 1 million transactions. And so we really, it's a heavy lift. It's going to be a lot of administrative work on all of us to get this one implemented at the expectations of the public. I mean, the public have high expectations for us to deliver on this, as they should, in terms of us being efficient, in terms of us being responsible and prudent with these dollars. And so it's going to be a major challenge for us.
Well, I think I know I can say just with the IFA and a lot of experience with processing payments or anything like that, but we would be very happy to lend a hand to discuss it. Of course, also being part of the budgetary process for IHCDA, we'd be happy to lend any hand we can to help you get through it, because obviously I think it sounds like an all hands on deck type of situation. And so we want to make sure we put forward our best efforts for you too.
Thank you, Mark. And I know the Indiana Finance Authority has been supportive for us on this program and others, and really appreciate the support you guys have given us. So I should also mention, we do have a director of the Indiana Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Her name is Rihanna Binder. You may recognize Rihanna's name. Ray, we're very fortunate to have Ray lead this initiative for us. Ray led the Indiana Blight Elimination Program that we implemented. It was $75 million for a statewide blight elimination program using the Hardest Hit Fund, which is actually the Troubled Asset Relief Program, which was a U.S. Department of Treasury program. And Ray has a depth of knowledge and relationships working with the U.S. Department of Treasury on standing up new programs. And so, because she did it with our blight elimination program, it was the first Hardest Hit Fund blight elimination program in the country that was statewide. And there was a lot of conversations that we had with Treasury when we were working to get that approved. And so we're very fortunate to have someone like Ray now stepping over and taking on this new initiative like this. So I'm really proud and I'm excited to have Ray on board and leading this effort. I'll jump into our CARES Act update. I should mention that last month I did have delegated authority, and I did execute after the board meeting the last week of December to allocate some remaining Emergency Solutions Grant CARES Act funds. Just like we just did this morning, we did make 7 awards for homeless prevention, some street outreach, some emergency shelters. The total amount was $777,000. I'm sorry, $777,764. And that went to 7 organizations. 6 of those organizations was just an increase in funding with their existing programs. And then we have 1 new award that we made, again, with those organizations. So that delegation authority I did execute prior to the expiration of the delegation authority. That authority did expire on December 30th. But I think it was December 20th is when we made those awards. And so we will also, like with all of our delegation awards that we've done that I've taken, we'll post that onto the website, our COVID-19 website, so it's so everyone can see the awards that we've made. So real quick on our Coronavirus Relief Fund rental assistance program that we have. As of last Friday, we've paid out over $48 million directly to the landlords, and we've assisted 24,680 renters with that program. That program, we're currently on the closeout process and wrapping that up. That's another thing we got to get wrapped up before we can turn on the emergency rental assistance program, the new one. But we're working on finalizing this one. And as of last Friday, we're just over 48 million and assisting almost 25,000. If you remember, that program started with 25 million. And so you can see we've actually almost doubled what we originally had back in July. So the Emergency Solutions Rental Assistance Fund is also another rental assistance program we implemented. And then as of last Friday, we've assisted just over 1,500 renters with that program. And we've committed to around 6.1 million of those resources too as well. And those are ongoing monthly payments that we make. There's 15 million that we have obligated to this ESG rental assistance program. So the Energy Assistance Program, it's an annual program that is run through local service providers for all 92 counties. And then as of last Friday, we've assisted almost 63,000 households who have an energy burden and provided them with a benefit on their utility energy bill of just over $30 million. So one of the initiatives that we had launched last year, but kind of got sidetracked and had to put on the back burner, was doing a statewide housing study update. You may have seen this too as well. It's thanks to Lieutenant Governor and Governor Holcomb for making this a priority within the administration to implement and have this study completed. It is going to be designed to do a comprehensive overview of our state's housing needs and our supply. In addition to that, we will be building out a web-based data platform that will ensure that this data is consistently being presented, but is also current, so that we can evaluate our current needs and also our future needs when it comes to our housing resources and then our housing inventory and where our needs are, the greatest. So, and it will be a tool that will be interactive for our housing stakeholders, and that's not just developers or builders. That could be local officials, that could be employers, housing service providers. And so we're really fortunate that we're going to be able to design a one-stop shop for folks to really look at the housing, I guess the housing market and the inventory that they have in their county. And then they will be able to also be able to cross-reference that and do some comparables with that data with other counties. So that's going to be, some of that analysis is going to be part of a housing census. We're going to be looking at a gap analysis and then also being able to look at some market trends as well. As I mentioned, it's going to be interactive. It's going to be consistent and it's going to be current over time. And IHCDA is going to take the lead on ensuring that that website is maintained and managed. So we also see the website as opportunities to continue to make enhancements. And We've already had a lot of discussions with some of our housing stakeholders like the Indiana Builders Association, the Indiana Apartment Association, and the Indiana Realtors Association about additional enhancements that we would like to see made to the database and the website once we get it up and going. So we're kind of building the chassis, and then other housing stakeholders across our state can work with us in a public-private partnership to help build out additional features for the website. So we have within the last month reaffirmed with the National Housing Trust that they are going to begin the study and also build out the website. And they're planning to begin this actually in February. So I'm really proud that Mike McClellan, our Director of Industry and Government Affairs, is going to be taking the lead on the statewide housing study for us.
Great. Hey, Jake, if you haven't already, can you have a conversation with IEDC and just make them aware of what you're working on? Because I'm sure that they'll find that to be helpful and useful to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Any questions for Jake?
Just a couple real quick items here before the end. I wrap up. Yeah, I have. I'm very fortunate to have a great team around me, and one of those team members I get to see every day in his leadership and his knowledge and his passion for this mission of this agency, but also for the affordable housing, and that's Matt Rayburn, our Deputy Director. And he was recognized. I see it every day within the state, but nationally, he was recognized by the National Home Builders Association for his dedication for his Housing Credit Professional of the Year award. And it's really rewarding to see someone like Matt who puts all the time and effort into it every day. I see it, but to see it recognized nationally by a great organization like the National Home Builders Association, I just want to compliment him, and I want to make the board aware of this high honor that he has received nationally. So I just want to thank Matt and for all his work. So.
And I wonder if the board, we could do a letter of congratulations.
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Okay, we'll make that happen.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Matt. And I think it's because the leadership that you provide, Jake. So thank you for your leadership of the housing agency. Is there any further business to come before the board?
Just want to mention real quick, we have an audit committee following the board meeting. So we have, if you're on the audit committee, we got a meeting following this. And then our February board meeting is February 25th at 10 a.m. Eastern. We will be announcing and recommending the 2021 Rental Housing Tax Credit Award. So that's usually one of our more popular board meetings. So we're really excited about presenting those awards to the board for approval next month, and it'll obviously be another virtual meeting as well. So thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for giving me that opportunity.
Great. And if there's no further business to come before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move for adjournment.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We stand adjourned. See you all in February. Take
Thanks,
care.
Matt. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.